latest right now in a case that is still gripping national headlines and really is beginning to grip more of them as more crazy details come out in this. A 25-year-old man found alive after he was reported missing nearly a decade ago, but was he actually ever missing? For the first time, ABC 13 is hearing about where Rudy Farias says he has been for the last 8 years. We were there yesterday as activist Quanell X stood outside a hotel in Humble where he talked about his conversation with Rudy. And again, at this point, the only person going on record, willing to go on record with information about this is Quanell X. Let's take a listen.
And his exact word was, "I was tired of living like a slave." He initially ran away. He came back 2 days later, and she told him that he had to hide.
Now, Quanell saying also told him he was sexually abused and heavily drugged by his mother for years. And police say officials cannot discuss or comment on the allegations and whether or not they're factual. Again, this from Quanell X, from Rudy Farias to us, but they will discuss the case in a press conference sometime this morning. For more on this, I want to welcome in right now ABC 13's Brooke Taylor. Brooke, this is certainly a bizarre case, to say the least. What was the scene at the motel like yesterday when you were there trying to talk to everybody?
Yeah, this one's certainly bizarre. I think that's why it's just really got so much national attention. There's so many twists and turns just every single day. Yesterday, when we were there, we spent hours there before we went live in the newscast because this interview with Rudy Farias just took hours. We were there early in the morning, and it took until about 3 o'clock where they came out and spoke to us. But I think for me, usually what we're used to is going to these crime scenes, right, where police have it taped off and you don't have so much access. Where in this case, what I was shocked, this isn't homicide, this is HPD missing persons unit. I'm not necessarily sure they've had interviews get so much media attention. So I would say the access, right? I was not in the room, of course, with investigators, Rudy and his mother, but I was in the hotel room. Reporters were able to walk the hallways, and I kind of saw his mother walk in and out as she pleased. Quanell X, the activists go in and out, and we kind of had such a first-hand, close access to the situation and what was going on, which I thought was really unusual. And then later on in the day, when family members caught wind of where we were at and the location, they started to show up. And as you could imagine, a lot of emotion there, family members just shocked, and a lot of people crying, coming together, wanting to speak to us and that sort of thing.
Brooke, I know if I'm correct, you were able to speak to Rudy's mother, but she did not want to go on camera at this point. Anything you can sum up or characterize about how she's feeling right now, or just the sense that you get of things?
So we were the first station to speak with Rudy's mother on Sunday night, and I would just say when I was on the phone with her, I've spoken to many victims' families before, and in her voice, I could tell she was just distraught. She had told me that my son, I have not seen him in years. He showed up to this church, and she was adamant that he was abused and beaten. And she told me, my son has been through so much trauma that he can't even speak to me. So throughout the week, we've been talking. And then the next day, where I heard from neighbors who said, we've seen Rudy. And that's when I started to ask her questions and say, what, neighbors are saying they've seen your son. They've actually hung out with your son. What's going on here? And then she started to become standoffish. But, from Sunday night, it's hard to believe with these accusations, just hearing from her, hearing that emotion from her. But I went up to her yesterday when she was in the hotel. She wanted no part of the cameras.
Yeah, and there are certainly a lot of serious and sordid allegations right now against Rudy's mother herself. And as I said, Brooke, we're in the business of, confirming things and looking at facts, but we also are humans, right? And when this story first came out, I said it just seems hard to believe that a person, especially in this day and age, could go missing for 8 years, be 2-3 miles away, and not be found. So we're certainly hearing a lot of controversy come out about what has happened with Rudy since that time. I want to talk to you about Quanell X. How did he come into this picture ultimately? Because, you know, we talked about Quanell, I guess, earlier this year in a feature with the Houston Chronicle that sort of detailed some of the things he has and hasn't done and some of the allegations out there against Quanell. How did he come into the picture?
Right. I think especially in this case, because we're getting a lot of people who aren't even from the Houston area. Many people are asking, who is this person? Because they want to hear from police, and so do we. And in a perfect case, we would have wanted to speak to investigators yesterday, but he was in that room, so he came out. But I'll just back up to answer your question, though. How he got involved, he told us that the family reached out to him. They wanted him there to be with investigators when Rudy and the mother was speaking to them. So he was in that room. And from what he tells us, he played a big part in Rudy Farias opening up to him and that investigator. And we have a press conference later today that we'll talk about. But one of my questions that I'm curious about at this point, it seems like, where was the investigator? He kind of took this up as that he was the one kind of controlling the situation and asking the questions. But right now, it just seems like the family called him in, and he claims that he was the one that kind of made him open up. And then he came out and told the media those accusations that you heard there, from what he says Rudy told him.
And lastly, Brooke, again, we do expect a press conference sometime today. Who is ultimately going to be the answer here? I know you just talked about one of the things that you were wanting to find out today. I mean, where are we going to get answers from in this case?
You know what? It's hard to tell if we are going to get answers, but we're certainly going to ask and get as much as we can right now. We have to understand that it's frustrating, but these are investigators. They have to take their time. They have to do their due diligence, especially if there are charges that do come. They have to figure out the best way to approach that. And sometimes putting in those charges as fast as they can isn't the best way around this, if there even are any. But the question everyone has right now, are these accusations true? Did investigators hear this as well? Is the mother going to face charges? And also, you know, this happened, he kind of flew under the radar for 8 years. If this is true, like, where were investigators? We know that family members called in 2018. Quanell X claims that Rudy told him that he was told to hide in the house. Did investigators thoroughly check the house? There's so many questions about whether this young man was failed if this turns out to be true.
ABC 13's Brooke Taylor, part of our team coverage on this, of course, was there yesterday, and will be continuing on this story today. Gosh, so much to sort out. Brooke, we appreciate your time. Good stuff as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.